continue and look now at the situation in East London, in the Eastern Cape, with eNCA's senior journalist, that's Aviwe Mtila. That's Buffalo City, Aviwe Mtila. Tell us what we're looking at this moment and located within the bigger picture of the Eastern Cape at this hour.
Of the African National Congress, and as things stand, it looks like the ANC here will retain its stronghold majority of the Buffalo City Metro. As it stands, just after 1, the results that were captured in the Eastern Cape stood at 81.7% of the results that have been captured. And of course, the key interests are around the metros. Looking at the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, it looks like most certainly at this stage that it will be run by a coalition. But of course, the voting itself was not met without challenges. Some of them have been speaking to the political parties on the ground, as well as the IEC themselves, who detailed even before the voting yesterday how the trenches that were dug up and the barricades to some voting stations, at least 24 stations, opened late around Dabangula. I just want to catch up with some of the political parties once more, just to find out those issues that they've been met with. Thank you for joining us at eNCA. I'm going to start with you from the Patriotic Alliance in terms of what are the challenges that you've been met as a party.
We had quite a few challenges where we had members registering on registration day. And yesterday when they went to vote, they were not on the voters' roll. Some of them had SMSs to prove that they've actually registered, but yet the IEC official said, sorry, there's nothing they could do.
That's a disheartening one. I want to move to you, the Deputy Chair of the Democratic Alliance in the Eastern Cape. Some of the challenges that you've been met with.
Well, what we found out at some voting stations that we had presiding officers who didn't know what to do when people would show up. So at one voting station in particular, at the Mpumalelo Public School in Ward 6, where I spoke to the presiding officer who basically allowed people to vote because she was afraid for her life that if people do not vote, even though they're not on the voters' roll, it would then mean that they would trash, have some violence taking place because they were not allowed to vote. What that then meant was it had an impact on the results of Ward 6, where in that particular voting station we had over 1,000 votes. But if you have to look at the ANC results across that ward or the other voting stations, it was 400 or less than that, which actually cost the Democratic Alliance that ward that we should have taken.
That's a serious issue, though. Then have you raised this up with the IEC?
Yes, when it happened, I lodged a complaint. We phoned our MPLC members to raise it with the IEC, which said that they will deal with it. And yet they have not dealt with it, and these results went through, and hence we now sit with a flawed system in a ward where people are voted in that were not actually elected by the people constitutionally and democratically.
I want to come back to the Patriotic Alliance. I mean, the issue that you're raising of people not being allowed to vote, even though they'd registered on registration day, is one we were met with yesterday ourselves, with a number of families even crying foul in that aspect. Have you raised this up with the IEC?
Yes, we have. We had a meeting last night as well. We raised up with the chairperson, and what he did advise us to at the time was to put in a complaint on our letterhead. But what we did say to him, that there was still time, to get the guys back to the voting station, because it was at 8 o'clock, so it was an hour before the voting station closed. But all he said was that there was nothing they could do.
And then quickly, where to from here then?
Well, the sad thing about it is we've lost all those votes. It could have given the Patriotic Alliance a good number of, voters. What we did do is to put through a complaint. We will put an official complaint through our national branch.
Okay, and then just your last word of what's going to happen.
Well, what we are definitely going to do is we're going to encourage every voter who was not allowed to vote to lodge complaints themselves at the IEC, just to show how serious the situation is. Ourselves as the party, we are reviewing the results as it comes in, and we are taking this final decision by the end of this day, where we will then communicate to the people this is our stance and where to from here. But where to from here is basically we need to take the IEC on the incompetence, and we need to make sure that this does not happen again come next elections, where you can see that the whole system was rigged in favor of the ANC to the detriment of opposition parties.
Okay, thank you very much. Party agents from the Democratic Alliance as well as the Patriotic Alliance raising some grievances, some that we ourselves were met with. I remember speaking to Mary Vessels, who told me that they went out as a family to register on voter day, and all 5 of them were registered, but only one person got to cast a vote yesterday, as 4 of them were turned away because they were told that they weren't registered. An issue that they say that will be taking up with the IEC ourselves. When we have those conversations, we'll be asking the IEC here.
Yeah, all right, thank you for that. That's eNCA's Aviwe Mtila. He's out in East London, part of the Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality.